what exactly is the format?
Yeah, so basically I'm just going to ask you guys some questions and we'll get to know you first. And then, I'll just ask you questions about Veritas and like what you do. And let me pull it up and make sure that we're actually
Let her
streaming.
answer most of the questions.
And I guess if there are any like site-specific questions, we'll give those to you. But and then I'll open it up to parents to ask questions.
So it's live?
Well. Yeah, we're Facebook Live right now.
That's cool.
So I'll wait a couple minutes. We have one watcher, an observer. I don't know if that's me or if that's somebody else though. We'll wait for a couple people and then I'll see if there are any questions that come up in here.
Did you guys talk at all? Or no? Okay.
We're waiting on your wisdom.
We are. All right. So we have a couple. I'll go ahead and get started and introduce you, and then we'll get going. Hi, everyone. Jessica Darby back again with another Facebook Live here at Veritas with Miss Jill Marr and Lisa Strasko, right? Did I pronounce that right? Mm-hmm. I would love to just get to know y'all a little bit. So if you could each introduce yourself and maybe your background and what you do here at Veritas, that would be great.
Great. You want to go first?
Sure. Name is Jill Marr. I'm the director for Veritas Classical Schools. We started in 2005.
Wow.
And so we're still here, 2017.
That's amazing.
Primarily function as a curriculum person, do a lot of intervention with the parents, really help lead staff. We have 3 campuses.
Wow.
One in Hernando, Mississippi, and 2 in Tennessee, one in Germantown and one in Cordova. Basically been here since the beginning and have really enjoyed it.
Nice.
And my name is Lisa Strasko, and I have been with Veritas for several years. Not since it was started, but my girls went through for a couple years, and we have really enjoyed it. I'm the local director for all 3 campuses, so I'm the boots on the ground kind of person.
Yeah.
And I also teach at all 3 campuses, the high school class.
Wow.
I do the language arts curriculum.
Yeah.
Which I love and enjoy. So we have some great kids, some great curriculum that Jill works a lot with. But and I've been here. This is my 2nd year doing high school. I've taught junior high as well. So that's probably about it in a nutshell.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so do you create all the curriculum that y'all use here, or do you pull it from other places?
We are actually classical, and so classical has a very specified model.
Okay.
And so starting with kindergarten and working our way through 12th grade, we have several emphasis that we would love to maintain in the curriculum.
Yeah.
So the first one would be critical thinking, which is kind of a lost and dying art.
Yeah.
And so we really introduced that literally in age-appropriate formats in kindergarten. And the second model, therefore, would also be, or portion of the model, would be keeping things in sequential order when we teach them, and then unifying the study. And so that sounds weird, but it's really very common sense approach to academics. And so, for example, if you were in 1st grade, you would start history at creation, as we are a Christian worldview institution, and so you would start Bible therefore in Genesis.
Sure.
Your geography would then also match what you're studying in Bible and history, and so that's what we mean by an interdisciplinary study. And it makes really common sense to teach the culture of the day next to the history of the day, keeping the sequential format of the Bible. And so that really gives them the ability over time to think across several disciplines instead of being in the box thinkers, which is a really for long-term education, which isn't necessarily schooling education, but actually life education, gives them the opportunity to break down, the world around them.
Absolutely.
And so curriculum comes from a variety of sources. We don't use a boxed set of any curriculum. We will literally go through different curriculum houses and evaluate what works. And we do that in three different formats. So K through about 4th grade is what we would call the grammar stage, and we have specified goals for a classical school there. Essentially, same thing, sequential format all the way through, starting with history and working our way forward, pulling in the Christian aspect to that, the critical thinking, very heavy on composition as well, which is really a key component to a classical education as well. And so that grammar stage is very heavy on academics. In other words, we believe truly at that age, when their little brains are sponges, that's the perfect time to introduce a broad base of information. Then from from about 5th to 8th grade, we call that the logic stage. Logic stage would be taking that foundation, building upon it, and begin to really expect them to interpret information instead of just being very concrete thinkers.
Yeah.
And so we'll slowly work towards, interpretive information. And a lot of that has to do with the physiology of the brain. In the lower grades, they're really not ready for that. By 5th to 8th grade, we can begin to expect interpretive and analytical information. 9th through 12th grade is what we call the rhetoric stage. Rhetoric, by definition, being good communicators.
Sure.
And so we have a great emphasis on basic college readiness. So everything in the curriculum is going to be based on what we know is coming in college and getting them ready. So a typical high school class is going to run much like a college class with a lot of in-class discussion. The expectation is they're going to be well read before they get there, so we can really debate and have the ability to bounce ideas off of each other.
Sure. So you said it's the classical model. So tell us a little bit about Veritas. So what exactly is it, and the blended learning stage setting? What is Veritas?
Veritas is basically what we now call a university model, a homeschool tutorial. So it's a very, I like the idea of the hybrid, the word hybrid, because it's a cross between a high quality private school and a homeschool. And our job at Veritas is to essentially empower that parent to meet those academic goals, which traditionally are really well served in a 5-day-a-week program, because it is complex and it is academic in nature. And so the teachers essentially take on the role of support staff. They are degreed teachers in the classroom. They are responsible to produce a weekly lesson plan, to assist with grading, to assist with support, to provide a classroom day that looks very much like a school day.
Sure.
Which is great for the kids, because then they get a professionally introduced academic week.
Yeah.
But there's also the chance for, socialization. Sure. And so being around a peer group. And so we still include a lot of the fun things that a school would do, Dr. Seuss Day and Thanksgiving feast and, Christmas parties and Valentine's Day, field day, a lot of things that a homeschooler typically would not have at home by themselves access to. But the overriding goal really is academic. And so those are all fun parts of what we do. But our true goal is to get them not just through to college, but through to life.
Sure. With
some life skills that are not traditional. And that will serve us well.
How many days a week do y'all typically have? And does it vary by campus, or is it the standard throughout?
We have 2 days a week. The first day is typically humanities.
Okay.
Which is going to cover all of your language arts, history, Bible, that type of thing. Then we have a math science day that is separate for the older grades, so your junior high through high school.
Okay.
And that's the day that we offer some languages. Spanish, was offered on humanities, Latin, those types of things. Some years we have different specials like art and things of that nature.
Okay.
But there are 2 days a week for each campus.
Okay.
So all three have 2 days a week. And I was going to add to Jill's statement about just, your question about Veritas. When we came to Veritas, when we decided to homeschool, we had 2 academic girls that functioned well in a public school setting that was pretty rigorous, and we wanted to keep them on a rigorous academic track. My husband wanted them at least on a campus 1 day a week if they could be, and they were heading into 5th, 6th, and junior high, and we were thinking, okay, I might need some help with the math and science part of it as they start to get older. So that was a big draw for us, as parents that were homeschooling. Just having that 1 day a week or 2 days a week for us at that point, tutorial sessions, having teachers introduce the material, and then also having a classroom that would allow for discussion. We wanted to make sure that they were on an advanced academic, on an advanced academic path. So we felt like Veritas fit that very well. Jill and I are both, we look at the curriculum. Jill's very good with curriculum. It is updated. So we do go through and make sure that it's kept current. With needs, and Jill's very good at looking at educational requirements and things of that nature, which does vary by state. Tennessee, Mississippi. But we do try to keep the curriculum fresh. It is integrated biblical curriculum, which was something that we were looking for, but that it is integrated into all the subjects, which makes it a little unique.
And did you go from a brick and mortar setting to just homeschool and then here? So
We went from a brick and mortar to here.
Okay.
Yeah, so, it was you were talking earlier about taking a few years to adjust.
Yeah.
And it does take a little while to adjust to any new curriculum, to new teachers. I would say the beginning of any new academic year for any student can take, several months to adjust to a new teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
And then to new curriculum on top of it, yes, it takes a while to adjust. But we did. We went from a brick and mortar school 5 days a week to Veritas. And we loved the program.
Yeah.
It fulfilled the requirements that my husband and I were looking for. And it still allowed some interaction, academic interaction. We were looking for academic interaction. There was some social interaction too. We did field trips and all that good stuff.
So that was one of my questions I was actually going to get to later, but it's a great segue. Do y'all offer like field trips here, or do you do field trips on this? Do you let parents do field trips on the side?
Well, we really highly encourage parents to get involved in local homeschool groups.
Oh, great.
Because, the more people you have around your children, the easier it is for them to have that well-rounded life experience.
Sure.
So that would be the first and foremost. We don't necessarily year to year have, this is what we're going to do this year as far as field trips, but each individual teacher certainly has the ability to organize and do that. However, the caveat is it's never on an academic day because parents are paying tuition for that academic day, and so it's particularly as a parent in the program as well, it is very helpful to have that academic day so that when I get home with my students, they've already looked at the math for the week, the history for the week. So when we do have those things, they're typically not on a school day and organized by teacher according to, whatever the needs of the class. So for example, 4th grade went to see the Nina de Pinta, the boat several years ago, and we just publicized that and did that. There are times where we've done non-academic times where, maybe we'll call the local ice rink in Olive Branch and say, hey, can our kids come? And it's, typically a Friday or jump zone, something like that. Yeah. We don't do a ton of that, but we do try to integrate it on occasion, and that's been helpful.
And for the high school level, we've done things more academic, but we had, a Holocaust survivor come in last year and speak to the students.
That's amazing.
We did that on something like that. We can integrate to an academic lesson if the teacher can work that through. But yeah, we try to really avoid any time as far as field trips away from campus, because they're only here a few days a week.
Sure.
But yeah, things for the high school level or junior high, can be a little more academic.
Yeah.
But was great. We had a missionary call in, that spoke to the students, and they had a two-way interaction with that missionary for about half an hour, 40 minutes. So there's great opportunity there to do those types of things, especially with the higher grade levels, and just have them participate in a conversation. With someone that has historically had impact. So those are great opportunities.
Even last year during the very contentious election that we had in our DeSoto campus, because they were going over things that were related to that. We did have a local politician come in and explain how local government worked. He was headed into the state representative's house, so how he was running his campaign, what he was running his campaign on, and it was really amazing because the kids were pretty well versed in politics, which was awesome. So I think he was thinking he was coming into just kind of a non-informed population, but they were very informed and had fabulous questions,
which may have been to his disadvantage.
It really was fun to watch him go but anyhow, they were great, and so we try to do that on occasion. But like I said, really, honestly, the focus is going to be the academics. And there's so much in the homeschool community in the Memphis area for parents to participate in those extracurriculars, everything from sports to music programs to, all kinds of competitive, things that they can do outside of Veritas. So we really highly encourage that as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So, is Veritas meant to be more supplemental to parents, or did you, as far as like curriculum and things go, or do you think it really will replace whatever that is they're doing, say, prior to coming here?
It is a full curriculum.
It is a full core curriculum.
Okay.
It is not supplemental in the least. Now, that doesn't mean a parent in the homeschool community cannot modify what we're doing. In fact, a lot of times there's modifications needed for the best, of the student. And so in that we have that core curriculum, and it is very structured as far as the lesson plans and the expectations and, the high academics, we still allow that parent And when I say allowed, they really have the primary,
still the teacher.
Yeah, we still consider them the primary teacher.
Okay.
So it's not like we allow them to do it, but, we allot within the program the ability for a parent to accommodate and modify. So it's been a great fit, even for some students. And this is kind of off topic and not, but we even have a dyslexia program where the kids are being tutored in the appropriate model, but mainstreaming into classrooms, and the parent doesn't have to wait on an IEP or a 504 to be granted modifications and accommodations, because we have a learned group of dyslexia therapists. Therefore, we can sit down with the parent and help them modify, and they get an excellent education while they're getting, tutored as well.
That's
and so
incredible.
that's been a really great fit. So it's classical, it's academic, but even within that, the parent has wiggle room to make it work for their student.
That's amazing. We have our first question from a viewer. So they don't need to purchase any other curriculum, correct? Do y'all give them everything?
They get the
tools that they would need?
They get a book list, but they are responsible to buy the books.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily included in tuition.
So you basically say, here are the books we'll be using.
Right.
Similar to a college course.
Sure.
So you would get the curriculum as far as the assignments.
Sure.
But you're responsible for purchasing the materials.
Okay.
For it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that differs a little bit with the sciences. Some sciences we have a lab fee that's small.
Sure.
But they're not purchasing typically all the lab materials and things.
We take care of the bigger things for the science labs, which are complete. So they do a full A&P, a full biology, a full chemistry. So we'll provide 90% of what's needed, including dead flesh. I know it's not my thing either, but specimens, which are typically kind of pricey, those are included in the cost of science, but the books are not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Microscopes, all of that. We have all of that equipment, so the parent doesn't have to invest in that portion of it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they're purchasing the books. And then whatever notebooks and things like that they need.
Sure, like regular school supplies.
Like they would normally.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Someone also wants to hear more about the dyslexia program. So it's actually my mom is also watching, and my brother, when we were younger, had dyslexia and ADHD and things like that, and that was one of the reasons why we went from brick and mortar to something else. And she wants to know, do they get tested here or do they get remediation? What kind of what do you offer for?
Right. We do what is called a screening for dyslexia. Okay. It's a 10-tool test. It takes about 2 hours. It covers a variety of areas that a typical dyslexic would either be deficient in or needs, where we can actually highlight the areas where they need help.
Okay.
There is kind of a lot of steps before that, because we will actually do a lot of free information and free training for a parent previous to the screening. So typically we have some informational videos that we have them watch, and then we do a full, what we call a parent interview. And that actually is a 15-page document that we use to help guide a discussion to see if a screening is even appropriate.
Okay.
Some children have more than just dyslexia.
Yeah.
And so we then therefore need to, for the veracity of the program, have them evaluated outside of just dyslexia to ensure that we are actually, if they come to tutoring, if they're a candidate for what we do, that their needs are being met in other areas. So a typical comorbidity might be ADHD, ADD. We've actually caught a couple of autistic students just on the basis of that parent interview that helped us guide that parent towards the right services.
Sure.
So yes, we do screen.
Yeah.
It's pretty inexpensive. It's about $175 for a full screening, which is very, very cost effective. But we do a lot of free training prior to that, and we never charge for that, because we really feel like most parents don't have the information to make the appropriate decisions, and so that's kind of our desire, our heart's desire, is to give parents a lot of tools previous to jumping into a pool of interventions.
Sure, and that makes perfect sense. You don't want to offer all of this and then not give them the tools that they need to make sure that that's exactly what they want to do, or something that they want
or
to
they need. I mean,
exactly.
the big thing for us would be, sometimes a student who has dyslexia really needs speech therapy first, and our intervention is not going to work until that portion of the neurology has been addressed.
That makes
so
sense.
Those are the kinds of things that parent interview will bring to light, and then therefore we can give them a roadmap, and then we have I think 3 area educational psychologists that we work with that have shown to have great prowess in helping our parents get, the appropriate diagnosis and intervention. And so it doesn't mean, even if we won't screen them because of, these other issues, doesn't mean we won't eventually tutor them. We just want that PhD to say, here's the roadmap and here's the sequence of the roadmap. And so once we have that, then we can definitely appropriately place them. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. Somebody said that's such a great tool. What a great resource! It is. It is. There's lots of families who are looking for that. Do you have to register through a district or a umbrella program, or would this technically be your umbrella program?
In the state of Tennessee, you still need to register with an umbrella program.
Okay.
So there are a few that we, that we recommend.
Okay.
In Mississippi, that's more your expertise than mine.
Right. Mississippi, for those people looking in Mississippi, we are only required to file what is called a certificate of enrollment with your state attendance officer. So it just varies by state, honestly.
Sure. I think here, I remember seeing that because we have stuff all over for through my organization. But we, for here in Tennessee, you either file an intent through the city district or the county district.
You can, yes.
Or an umbrella program. So do y'all typically steer them towards the umbrella program here?
We do.
Okay.
Just because some of that filing with the intent with the district, a lot of times they're using the curriculum of the district, or they're doing something called unschooling, things like that, which may not fit well with our curriculum, to be honest. So the cover school just fits better.
Sure.
Well, they represent homeschool families.
Yeah.
And not only that, they also, all of the really good umbrella schools have guidance counselors for high school, guidance counselors for lower and middle school. And so not only do they have the support of Veritas, they can also literally tap into that resource and gain lots of knowledge. And a lot of them do parent education, a lot of them do annual testing. It's just for us looking at it from the parent perspective, because both of us have homeschooled. Sure. It's just a useful tool.
Absolutely.
It is. Transcripts for high school. Yeah. To have a transcript coming from a cover school, it's helpful with the university applications. Not that you couldn't do it yourself. And we've actually lived in Pennsylvania where you did do it yourself. Yeah. Because they didn't have cover schools. But it's, I could tell you, going from one state to the next, it's been much easier here. To get that all done. So they record all the grades, so the parents will still, we record grades, but the parents will use those and send those in. Yeah. And it just keeps things streamlined. Yeah. And like Jill said, there are a lot of things from driver's license, attendance sheets, they're required in Tennessee from schools, and compulsory attendance, things like that the cover school will handle. Okay. For the students.
That's nice.
Well, that's what our cover school did when it came time for us to get the, driving permit.
Yeah. Is Veritas nationwide, and how many locations are there here in Tennessee?
There are, it is a franchise based out of Atlanta. Okay. Atlanta probably has 5 to 6 campus sites. Wow. In Tennessee, we have 2 in Memphis, and if you go all the way onto the east side of the state, I think there's one in Knoxville. Okay. And it expands yearly. Okay. So we're as far as South Carolina, and we even have a post in Beverly Hills, California. Wow. So in the sense of nationwide, yes, we do have different areas where Veritas is operating. It is not necessarily geographically everywhere. Sure. The total number, I have no idea. I know kind of what's in my district and my region. Alabama has some, and Florida, those places. But for this side of the state, which would be the area that I'm, oversee or whatever. It's 2 in the Memphis area.
And then North Mississippi. And then are there any others in Mississippi, or is it just the DeSoto one?
No, just the DeSoto one. Okay. And I think that's probably demographically why, because homeschool is thriving in Mississippi, but it is primarily thriving in North Mississippi. So the further south, and I can say that with veracity because I've lived in Middle Mississippi. Same. And, there's just not a huge homeschool, partially because we're not heavily populated, except on the north and south end of Mississippi. But by population and demographic, North sense. Mississippi.
There was something that y'all mentioned earlier, and I think I'll kind of use this to wrap up, but you mentioned, do y'all offer any kind of guidance counseling or college application help to the students who are in your upper grades?
So as far as the high school goes, we do, our curriculum is actually geared towards ACT prep as far as the grammar curriculum piece of it. And when I say geared towards, it's applicable towards.
Yeah.
We don't really gear towards anything like that, but because of the way that the curriculum is laid out, it does a great job of preparing them for the ACT.
Yeah.
Our curriculum in general, overall, does a great job of preparing them because they're learning to think critically.
Yeah.
And when they can think critically, they tend to do better on tests. They can think through the process.
Sure.
So we do help with that. They'll hear me a lot in their high school language arts programs and some language arts, and that's a big part of the test.
Yeah.
You might see this on the test when we're going through some of the grammar, pieces of it, or the literature pieces of it.
That's great.
Reading comprehension. Our books that we read, our book list for literature, it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
So they're having to go through and analyze text, literature classics and things of that nature. So they're really thinking through the program and thinking through the books.
Yeah.
And that does lend itself not only to good test taking, because some kids just aren't good test takers.
Sure.
But it'll help them do well in college.
Good.
And then our hope is beyond.
Yeah.
Because really what I tell them in class is, and I think Jill shares this, is we're really preparing you for the future. We want you to be able to take place in society and do well.
Yeah.
So that it does do a good job of, it's a rigorous preparation for the future. So yes, and in that sense. Now I get some students parents asking for college recommendations. Jill has too, that type of thing, which we will do, if it's appropriate for the student.
Sure.
And we don't mind doing that. As far as college fairs and things of that nature, what they would do, that's really not our expertise.
Sure.
So they would do a college fair for that. Cover schools offer, some guidance.
Yeah.
As far as what types of schools and things of that nature. Yeah, I would be probably a little hesitant to talk to a student about what school would be best for them.
Yeah.
Just because, our teachers who are teaching, one subject, for the high school, or two subjects. So in order to get a rounded view of the student, that really probably needs to be done through mom and dad and possibly, a cover school that is real familiar with that. But we do some preparation for testing, so that we know they do well. And typically our students do pretty well.
Yeah, I think the last 5 years running, and we track the kids that are actually participating in the program fully.
Yeah.
We're in the upper 20th percentile of ACT.
Great.
So I know last year our valedictorian was like a 33. And
wow.
that, I think last year's graduating class was, I think the average was 28. So
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, but and I've always said this, yes, the curriculum is great for preparation, but really honestly we're only as good as the diligent parent, because while we do share a large portion of the load, what goes on at home is equally important.
Absolutely.
But I will say this, what sets us apart from probably other homeschool tutorial models is that we are full core. In other words, you can get every single class from kindergarten through 12th grade for graduation.
That's amazing.
And it's done in what we call packages, like a whole package, as opposed to other tutorials, which are great, by the way. Not putting that model down, just saying we're set apart because we do the full package.
Yeah.
And so it's by grade. You can take that. So they pretty much get every credit needed.
And you do offer foreign language, correct? I heard that right?
Absolutely.
Which ones do you offer?
Spanish and Latin.
Foreign language. The reason why I asked, foreign language is my favorite, and I minored in Spanish actually. So
did you?
Yeah. So I love it, and I wanted to make sure I got that so that parents know that they can get that here too.
And that would be included in that package. In other words, everything like personal finance, which is required. Those kinds of things. Anything academically inclined is going to be offered here. PE would not be offered here.
Okay, so
but
still have to do that.
MHEA, we have some great.
Oh yeah, my brothers did MHEA sports.
Yeah,
very familiar.
it's not a make or break. But for the academic classes, everything is here. So in the upper grades, for example, they can take everything from general science all the way through physics.
Okay, wow.
Everything from general math, which is a typical 7th grade class, all the way through pre-cal. Wow. So, it's pretty comprehensive, and it just rolls every year. We roll the curriculum around so that if a kid is here K through 12, or for that matter 9 through 12, they've pretty much, the parent doesn't necessarily have to worry about, do I have all my credits?
Sure.
Because it's already formatted to provide that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, thanks so much for letting me come and interview you guys. And thanks for everybody who's been watching. If you don't mind, do you mind if I add y'all to our group and then maybe you comment on the video, your information, if somebody wants to reach out? We'd love that. I know that people will go back and watch the recordings and things like that.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for
having
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Hey guys, so I realized that there were a couple of questions that I didn't get the first time around, so we're going to answer those really quick and then I'll wrap up. So the first one was, what do you expect out of your teachers? So when you're hiring teachers, what do you look for in a teacher?
Right. Well, first and foremost, they have to have at least a 4-year degree. We have several teachers with advanced degrees. We even have a PhD candidate that works with us. First and foremost, they have to demonstrate educational background.
Okay.
We do try to obviously place them in their content area, and they do have to demonstrate a Christian commitment. As a Christian worldview school, that is also something that we greatly cherish.
Yeah.
They do background checks. You know, we definitely want to put the right people in the classroom, both academically and for safety purposes.
Awesome. And do you offer scholarships to the students that enroll in Veritas?
Yeah. Every year we do have a portion of students that are on scholarship that's given on a case-by-case basis. We don't necessarily advertise to that end, but typically it almost functions as a tithe. And so if you have 300 students enrolled, typically you will see a tenth of those on scholarship. That is just a commitment on a part of our program. It is based on financial need, but there are academic requirements. So if a student is on scholarship, behaviorally they have to demonstrate excellence, and academically they have to maintain at least a B average.
Okay. And in the classroom setting, are there ways for parents to be involved or get involved, and what does that look like?
Yeah, we're really big on parental involvement, so we definitely cherish those parents that like to do the extras. So it can be as small as organizing one of the class parties. It can be, even an events director. I know every year we have a Thanksgiving feast, which is today, and there's probably 10 to 15 parents that are leading that up. And so they typically organize who brings what and add to it. I know there's a lot of parents that will even do outside activities with the kids as well.
Okay.
And so really it's up to the parent and their time commitment. And what they really want to do, and a typical homeschool parent is pretty involved anyhow. So, but we enjoy that. Those are the primary teachers. They often, we will even do yearly or bi-yearly surveys for the parents to also have additional input and feedback. So that helps us gear better. What the needs of the community are.
For the upper school, some of them do study groups.
Okay.
They've gotten together to do that, and usually the parents orchestrate that. The teachers don't do that. And they've gotten together to do, because we do unit studies like Jill mentioned earlier, some of the girls might get together and bake something and bring it into the class that pertains to the period.
Okay.
And I've seen that with literature unit studies and things of that nature. So parents get involved from that perspective, although you start to see that shift a little bit in high school, where the students are really starting to orchestrate more of that involvement. They're getting things together on their own.
Okay.
But there's still a lot of opportunity for parents to be involved.
How fun. And our last question was, how many students do you normally enroll or accept here at Veritas, or is it selective, or do you just accept everyone who applies?
Right. There is an enrollment process.
Okay.
And in the enrollment process, there's a lot of questions that are asked to help us ascertain that what the parent is looking for is what we offer. So obviously behavioral issues or things that we don't manage academically will be filtered through that application process. But I would not say that we're overly selective as far as demanding a certain GPA or a certain background. It's really not that. It's just making sure that what we offer is a fit for the parent, and it is for the Christian community. And so there is that question on the application of is this a family that embraces the code of conduct first of all, and the statement of faith. And so those are the just kind of the samples of what we would be looking for. But as far as being in any way demeaning to any one population or anything like that. Definitely not.
Okay.
We definitely want to see people thrive here, and so that's really the goal. The goal is this student going to thrive here, and does the parent really understand what we're doing? And so because we don't want anybody to lose a school year to something that isn't a fit for them.
Sure.
And likewise, we want to be a support staff to that thought process. So,
sure.
But yeah, not overly selective, but definitely we have some questions, to make sure that what we do is what you're looking for.
Right. Well, thanks again for jumping back on here and answering those last minute questions. I didn't see them load the first time around, so I apologize for that.